Matt finally tried to leave on Young and the Restless, and nobody would let him. The rinse. Our daily look at the biggest takeaway from the last episode of The Young and the Restless. In the July 20th episode of The Young and the Restless, Matt finally stopped trying to convince everyone he had changed. He accepted that Genoa City wasn't going to forgive him and decided it was time to leave. Instead of letting him walk away, though, everyone suddenly had a reason to stop him. Matt, Roger Howarth, didn't argue with Noah, Lucas Adams, or Sharon Case for very long. He admitted that no matter what he did, people would always see him as the villain. Rather than keep chasing forgiveness he was never going to receive, he decided it was time to start over somewhere else. It wasn't a dramatic exit or an attempt to manipulate anyone. Matt simply reached the point where staying no longer made sense. After weeks of trying to prove he deserved another chance, he finally accepted that Genoa City had already made up its mind. Nobody was ready to let him go. Nick Joshua Morrow immediately questioned whether Matt meant what he said. Even after Matt insisted he wasn't looking for money or another deal, Nick refused to believe he would simply disappear. Sharon was less worried about Matt's next move than she was about what Nick might do if he refused to let Matt leave in peace. Victor, Eric Braden, had a completely different problem with Matt's plan. As far as Victor was concerned, Matt still had a job to do. Their arrangement wasn't over just because Matt had decided he was finished, and Victor made it clear that leaving Genoa City wasn't Matt's decision to make. Phyllis, Michelle Stafford, wasn't trying to trap Matt the way Victor was, and she wasn't driven by distrust the way Nick was. She understood why Matt wanted to leave, but she still refused to let him give up. Phyllis's refusal showed just how complicated Matt's relationships had become. Nick saw a threat. Victor saw an asset. Phyllis saw someone walking away before his story was finished. Matt thought leaving town would finally put an end to the constant fighting. Instead, it proved that everyone around him had a different idea of what should happen next. For the first time since returning to Genoa City, Matt wasn't trying to change anyone's mind. Everyone else was trying to change his. Matt had spent years telling himself that one more day wouldn't matter. One more meeting. One more family dinner. One more crisis. One more promise to fix things that had been broken long before he arrived. But on a quiet Tuesday morning, before the rest of the city had fully awakened, Matt packed a single duffel bag, slipped his keys onto the kitchen counter, and decided he was finally leaving Genoa City. For once, there was no dramatic speech, no angry confrontation, no revenge plan, just a tired man who had reached the end of his patience. He opened the front door, took one deep breath, and smiled. Freedom, or so he thought. The first obstacle appeared before he even reached his car. His phone rang. He stared at the screen. Victor. Matt laughed under his breath. Of course. He considered ignoring it. Then it rang again. And again. Finally he answered. What? Victor's voice was calm, almost too calm. I hear you're leaving town. Matt frowned. I haven't told anyone. You don't have to. How do you know? I know everything that happens in Genoa City. Matt rolled his eyes. I should have expected that. Victor paused. You can't leave today. And why not? Because there's something you need to see. I'm done seeing things. Victor simply replied, Meet me in 1 hour. The line went dead. Matt refused. He tossed the phone onto the passenger seat and started the engine. Finally, he backed out of the driveway. Then, nothing. The engine stalled. He tried again. Click. Silence. Again. Nothing. You've got to be kidding me. Just then, a familiar tow truck slowly rolled around the corner. The driver lowered the window. Car trouble. Matt sighed. It was working 5 seconds ago. The driver smiled. It happens. Matt wasn't convinced, especially when he noticed the Newman Enterprises logo on the driver's jacket. An hour later, against his better judgment, Matt found himself standing inside the Newman Ranch. Victor greeted him with a knowing smile. I knew you'd come. I didn't have much choice. Victor nodded. Exactly. Matt folded his arms. So what's so important? Victor handed him an old envelope. Inside was a photograph. Matt stared at it. It showed a much younger version of himself, standing beside people he barely remembered. There was one face, however, that stopped him cold. His father, a man Matt believed had disappeared decades ago. What is this? Victor answered quietly. The story you were never told. Before Matt could ask another question, the front door burst open. Nick walked in. Then Victoria. Then Nicky. Within minutes, the entire Newman family was gathered around him. You all knew? Matt asked. No
Finally,
one
Nicky
answered
spoke.
immediately. We were trying to protect you. Matt laughed bitterly. That's everyone's favorite excuse. Victoria stepped closer. You deserve the truth. Then tell me. Before anyone could begin, the lights went out. Complete darkness. Someone screamed. Glass shattered somewhere across the room. When the emergency lights flickered on, the envelope was gone. Matt looked around. Everyone looked equally confused. Victor wasn't. He simply sighed. I knew this might happen. Matt stared. You expected someone to steal it. Victor looked toward the broken window. Not someone. Who? Victor answered with one word. Family. The mystery spread across Genoa City within hours. Everyone had a theory. Some blamed Adam. Others blamed an old business rival. A few believed the photograph itself was fake. Matt didn't know what to believe anymore. All he knew was that every answer created two new questions. And somehow, despite trying to leave town, he had become the center of another impossible mystery. Determined to escape before another disaster unfolded, Matt booked the next available flight. No luggage. No return ticket. No goodbyes. He arrived at the airport feeling hopeful for the first time in years. He checked in, passed security, reached the departure gate. Then he heard someone call his name. Matt. He closed his eyes. Please don't. It was Sharon. She hurried toward him, slightly out of breath. I've been looking everywhere. You found me. I had to. I really need to go. I know. So let me. I can't. Matt smiled weakly. See? That's exactly the problem. Sharon handed him another envelope. Before you leave, read this. He hesitated, then opened it. Inside wasn't another photograph. It was a handwritten letter, his mother's handwriting. He recognized it instantly. His hands trembled as he read. She had written the letter years earlier, knowing there might come a day when Matt would try to run from his past instead of facing it. Every sentence felt personal. Every word answered questions he had carried since childhood. When he finished reading, tears filled his eyes. I never knew. Sharon gently nodded. None of us did. The boarding announcement echoed across the terminal. Final boarding. Passengers lined up. The gate agent smiled politely. Matt looked toward the aircraft, then back at Sharon, then at the letter. He took one slow breath. For the first time, leaving no longer felt simple. Because leaving wasn't really about distance. It was about unfinished stories. Just when Matt thought he had made his decision, another familiar voice interrupted. You're seriously leaving without saying goodbye? He turned. Jack stood there. Beside him was Diane. Behind them came Lily, Devin, Abby, even Adam. Matt couldn't believe it. Did the entire town follow me? Jack smiled. Pretty much. Adam shrugged. We're all invested now. Matt laughed despite himself. I was afraid of that. One by one, each person reminded Matt of something he had forgotten. A friendship, a second chance, a mistake forgiven, a promise kept. The memories came rushing back faster than he could process them. Maybe Genoa City had caused him endless frustration. Maybe it had broken his heart more than once. But it had also become home. Not because life there was easy, because the people refused to give up on one another, even when they absolutely should. the gate agent made one final announcement. Boarding complete. The aircraft door closed. The plane slowly pulled away. Matt watched it disappear through the large terminal window. He had officially missed his chance. Oddly enough, he wasn't angry. Victor's words echoed in his mind. You can't leave today. Maybe Victor had planned everything. Maybe fate had. Or maybe the people who cared about him simply refused to let him walk away before learning the truth. As Matt tucked his mother's letter safely into his jacket, he smiled for the first time in a very long while. Leaving Genoa City could wait. Some stories weren't finished yet. And if The Young and the Restless had taught its fans anything over the years, it was that the most unforgettable departures are always the ones that never quite happen.